Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my S-rank, no damage run of Resident Evil 2 Remake Claire B scenario, or second run as this game likes to call it. When I first played this particular sequence back on Twitch, a week back now, I found this scenario to be very difficult. I thought the beginning of it was incredibly brutal. A lot of times I felt it was borderline unfair, and sometimes just kind of took the piss. But now that I've come back after playing it a bit more and understanding it a bit more, always hold right now, guys. Always hold right. If you hold forward, you'll run into a zombie and it's a free grab. If you immediately speed through this doorway, you can get all the way back to the locked door without having to contend with any of those dudes. Very important start. But now that I've played this one a bit more, I really like the brevity of the beginning of this sequence, and I really enjoy how you get straight to the police station immediately, so it's become my favourite scenario. But in here there's a grenade on the radiator, there's a gun on the table, there is a key on the locker, and there are bullets next to the key. You need to pick up all these things. Each of these individual components is very important, and then when you come up here, depending on RNG, will depend on where this guy is. And what we're going to be doing with Claire is we're going to be using this gun because it has a very good stun percentage compared to some of the other pistols. We're going to be shooting people in the leg, and you either get 1 to 3 bullet stuns. The sweet spot with Claire seems to be 2 bullets to a leg, and you will make the enemy flinch. When they flinch, you can then run past them. And it's the most effective way of kind of saving ammunition and getting past and skirting danger without, being too ridiculous. Just then, if you don't want to do what I just did, throw a grenade and get rid of all of them. You don't need to, but I intended to save it for this run, and I got really, really good pattern, and I say really good pattern, I got like 1-touch kneecaps from everybody, which was really, 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 really good. But make sure you pick up these 2 boards here, guys. These 2 boards are something that I picked up on a whim, and then they turned out to be really, really good for a corridor later on, so I definitely recommend grabbing them. We're going to come in here, get the weapon locker, and then when you do this, it makes these fire guys stealth ninja on the corner of this doorway. I don't know why something on fire that is undead can be so bloody quiet just to sneak up on you, but on this run, I saved the grenade for these guys. And I did that because last time I had a problem getting past them. But they're not too bad once you know what you're doing, as long as you get the stun and they aren't too close together. But now that we've done that, we can proceed into the police station, and we have to hook a right, run past Elliot, and get the fuse. Elliot's kind of interesting in this sequence. He'll either crawl into the corner and do nothing to no one, or he'll grab you on your way back. He's one of those weird moments, and you can either decide to shoot him, or if you've got an infinite knife, you can knife him. But I'm probably just going to run past him if I can. There are some gunpowder in that locker, there are bullets in this locker, and then on the shelf, on the sink around here, there's going to be some machine gun rounds, which, on my first run-through of Claire B, I did not get the machine gun, I skipped it. And I'm going to be getting it for this one, because I like it as a gun. In my mind, I can skip a Magnum because the Magnum serves a very specific purpose. It's like an elixir in Final Fantasy, isn't it? It's the item that you hoard till the end of the game and then you never chuff and need it. Well, in this game, the Magnum can be used a bit more fragrantly if you want to, but the machine gun can be used a ton because it's just the utility of that gun is really, really cool, and I'm going to be trying to use it as much as I can. But once you cut this door, on your left there'll be a flashbang, which I recommend picking up. On the body to the left of me right now, there are more pistol bullets. You can get them if you want to. I was a bit nervous, so I decided to skip them. In here, there is actually more Vagisil on that shelf that will enable you to make some acid rounds. But I'm going to be taking quite an efficient path at the beginning of this game, because I was hoping to beat my time. And the motivation for this run is not only I want to cover the scenarios, because I think this game is amazing. Be very careful here for random Japanese tourist. He's fucking always here until he's not. So just then, did you notice how I didn't get grabbed behind that curtain? I got grabbed by a dude at that curtain, and he can do it. It can be a program spawn when you enter that area of the police station, so be very careful. And speaking of being careful, instead of zombies in this room, there's now a licker, so you want to be quite careful, unless you like fighting them and you're crazy. I'm not Godfather Dictator, I like to walk past them. And if you want to kill this licker, which is not a bad idea, if you have a knife, you can stun lock lickers with a knife. It's a very, very strong strategy. This is the second window we'll be boarding up. Very, very useful if you want to do that way. But as I was saying, the motivation for this video series is of course to help you folk if you're having problems and you want to see somebody do it and learn some tech. But fundamentally, I wanted to do it differently and show you some different strategies. And one of the strategies I wanted to show you was me doing it a little bit quicker. And then I think I'm a minute slower. And it doesn't make any sense, guys, because I'm not killing as many things as I'd like to. I'm not killing as many things as I did last time. I'm not picking up as many things as I did last time. I don't know where I'm losing the time, but I'm certainly losing it somewhere. And the logical place might be in the boss fights, because I won't have a ridiculous amount of resources to deal with them. And I do tend to get trolled by the bosses quite a lot in this game. But I think fundamentally I'm bleeding time somewhere, and I really need to look into it and maybe not have that. Because the faster I do it, the less I have to talk on this video, which is a big benefit. But here is Vending Machine Dude. He always seems to take 2 to 3 bullets to fall down. I can get behind that. I'm going to try and kill these guys, just because I like this area to be clear, just in case it gets convoluted later on. But because I don't have a knife, I'm not a big fan of shooting zombies on the ground. So right now, my entire body's telling me to stop doing this. It feels not good. And then if you heard just then, the vending machine guy's alive. Because the zombies in this game don't like dying, which... There is a wonderful speedrunners tool that you can get right now for PC version of this game that will show you every single individual health pool of the enemies that you fight. It'll show you the boss HP, it will show you the ranking of the game and how difficult the game is being for you, and a whole host of other information that's really, really fascinating. Because if you didn't know, guys, the adaptive difficulty in this game works in a very select way. Essentially, every time you kill something, every time you're successful, when you're landing your shots, things of that nature, you add score to a scoreboard, and the metric of that scoreboard dictates how difficult the game is. The higher the level of that number on your score, the less damage you do to enemies. And it's really, really interesting. So if you die, you lower it by quite a lot. If you get bit, you lower it by quite a lot. And I think the speedrunners are experimenting with missing shots to lower it as well. But if you find yourself having to shoot someone's leg 9 times, it means that your rank is really high at that point. And it's just one of those ways the game works. But it's really interesting to see, because you can see as the levels go up that your damage modifier is completely removed. It's really fascinating. And if you play on hardcore, you immediately start at rank 9, which means your damage is something like 0.65x of what it normally would be. So if you're wondering why is this game so hard on hardcore, or why am I having such a hard time compared to before, it's because there is definitely a big jump there in some of the numbers. But the biggest usefulness of that tool, that speedrunners tool that someone's created, is that when you're fighting the bosses, you can understand what does what. You can see what the knife is doing, you can see what your magnum's doing, what your grenades are doing. You can understand the thresholds of his HP to when you have to get him to a certain point to win a fight. And information like that is absolutely priceless. And I'm going to do a run, potentially, on stream with that thing enabled, because I just want to show people it's pretty fascinating. But chuck the valve on after you've got the resources. I'm probably going to turn around here because I believe I've done this wrong. So there is a trigger for Mr. X that involves going inside the stars room while holding a certain item. And I think the big trigger here is if you hold the battery inside the stars room, when you leave the stars room he will always trigger. Additionally, if you go to the end of that corridor, he will also trigger as well. So I got a little ahead of myself just then because I don't have everything that I want, and I'm going to go up now and I'm going to do the library. And you might be thinking, well, what was it, Chris, that you forgot? It's not necessarily a case of forgetting, it's just I got a little bit sidetracked. The thing that I want to do is, of course, I want to go into the stars room with the stars badge and get the machine gun. And to do that, I have to do the library, get the book, go back, dodge the liquor, and then bring the scepter with me and everything. But there's some gunpowder in here if you want to grab it. Claire's inventory seems a little bit limited compared to Leon's, because she seems to have so much more to pick up, and I don't really know why that is, but one of the things I definitely found myself running into in this run, because I'm only going to be picking up one of the bags, I oftentimes had to discard things I wanted. And it's not the end of the world, and if you're willing to waste some time, you can always go back and hit a box and such, but because I was trying to, do this in a coherent fashion, I do tend to kind of make decisions on the fly, and that was a beautiful one-hit crit, which is always nice to see. You tend to not see those in my runs just because the game hates me. But I have 2 runs left to do, guys. I have Leon B and Claire A, and then once I've done those, I've covered all of the segments And I'm really looking forward to doing them because I am so into this game right now, it's not even funny. I very much enjoying it. Oh, by the way, did I mix 2 gunpowders and make normal bullets? That was a mistake. I completely forgot that you can't fashion ACP rounds. You can only fashion, like, Matilda rounds and gun and bullets for that CLS gun that I really don't like. Here's me knifing this fellow into an interesting looking shape of human bodies. There goes his foot. Just trying to expedite it by putting him down a bit quicker. The resilience on the zombies is profound. I really wish this game had a stomp. I do. I feel like the stomp in Resident Evil 2 is such an iconic move that I would love to have it in this, just to expedite moments like that. Take a leg, let him grab you, and then cave his face in. See, that was a good example just then. Because I messed with the gunpowder and I got something I didn't want, I could easily throw it away so I could pick this up. And nobody's really going to cry over a couple of pistol rounds, right? But those pistol rounds could be the difference between a dog hitting you and a dog not hitting you. Because as you might have noticed, this is a no damage run. Getting an S+ rank, guys, is tricky, but getting an S+ rank without taking damage is a considerably more difficult task. This zombie here as well, you do not have to kill this guy. If you're sneaky enough and you hug the right-hand side going through this door from this direction and the left-hand side coming through it from the other, he tends to stay seated for a large amount of the game. I don't actually know his trigger for why he stands up, but you might be able to completely avoid this guy even triggering. But I reckon if you do leave him, when Mr. X turns up and you're coming in here with the lever, that'll be the time when it bites you in the ass. That'll be the time when it gets real bad, right? But back onto the balcony. I don't have any space to do the medallion puzzle, so I'm contemplating going down into the middle and chucking a medallion down. I decide against it though. One thing you'll notice in this main room, guys, is that the zombies in the main room are absolute wizards at being where you don't want them to be at almost all times. Marvin and Japanese Tourist Man are 2 of the worst zombies in the game for it, because whenever you need to go to the medallion area, they're in the medallion area. Whenever you need to go past the other side, they're at the other side. It's almost teleporting them into places where you don't want them to be. There's also a zombie to your left just there, but I've never had problems with him, so I don't engage him. And I don't know how close I am to being grabbed. I don't know if it's just complete luck, and if you've been grabbed it sucks, but I've never been touched by him, so I just kind of do this. And the moment you get this scepter in your inventory and you go back to the game, you're going to get jumped by a licker. He's going to come through the oculus in the ceiling. We're in a bootleg version of St. Paul's Basilica, so just run past him, come through this door and hug the left. If you do this correctly, you won't have to engage anybody, and now we can go back into the steam room, in the locker room, and stick the diamond in the very baroque and fanciful jewellery box, which is not there in the A run. It's closer to the interrogation room in the A run, if you remember. But here we go, Japanese Tourist. Please be a one-tap. Oh, it was. Beautiful. And Marvin's over there just being a dickhead. So I'm going to have to shoot him as well, wasting all these precious bullets. By the way, guys, when you're coming out of the animation of skipping that, when you skip the opening of the statue, if you mash interact, you can immediately place the next medallion without having to move towards it. I saw Distortion doing that on his stream the other day. Obviously, he's a speedrunner, so he knows all the really fast tech. But what you're looking for here, guys, if you want to have a good time coming out of the RPD, is you want to be going towards Birkin 1 at about 20 minutes. And I know that sounds kind of crazy for somebody that's never done it, but it's actually really doable. As long as you're getting everything you need, anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes is a pretty spot-on time to be getting out of this encounter and then getting on to the first boss. I actually had some shenanigans with my timer on this run, which I'll have the opportunity to speak about later on, because I don't know how it worked. I was like speculating that maybe I'd continued at some point, and maybe that's why the ambiguity turned up, but for some reason I ended up having an imaginary 25 minutes added to my timer, and I missed the S+. I failed the run, and I was really, really angry, because everything about the run had been really good. You know, it had some really close calls, like this guy here. That guy's going to be a close call later on, I think. These are the zombies that they've added to make this a little bit trickier, but luckily this pistol is so bloody good that these one-touch kneecaps are going to make you really hate playing as Leon on this campaign, because his handgun just does not do the same. It's always like 3 bullets to hit the knee. Her gun just seems so good for this. And it's kind of funny too, because when I first played through this scenario, I hated this quick draw gun. But at that point, I was still trying to shoot the face. I was still going for headshots. And when it comes to just getting around them, the headshot stun is not guaranteed, whereas the leg one seems to be a lot more frequent, and there's almost no reason not to do it in my opinion. Oh, I forgot the box. That was a problem. So right now, I'm shitting myself because I'm thinking I've triggered Mr. X and I don't have the box. I'm going to have to duck and dive him. But it turns out, if you don't pick the battery up, you don't spawn him, which is really kind of the game. As long as you don't have that in your inventory, he's not there. And I can come back into the Steam room, pick up the box, and then go and get the machine gun. And that was a really important lesson, but also the first good instance of a big time loss because I'm backtracking needlessly. But luckily, it didn't bite me in the bum. I saw a friend of mine actually provoke Mr. X before he goes into the stars room, and what that did for him is it made Mr. X lose him, so when he came out of the stars room he was wandering off, and it gave him a bit of a breathing room. But it's entirely up to you guys how you want to do this. The reason that I like to trigger Mr. X coming out of this room is because I know exactly where he is and he knows exactly where I am, and I can kind of use my movement to get away from him and have an idea where he is. When he wanders off, you don't really have an idea where he is all that well, and he can teleport, and if he teleports in front of you, which he loves to do, it can put you in some really awkward spots. And I know how to dodge Mr. X by baiting his hooks and then ducking back and running past him. But to trusting myself to do it in a run where I don't have a checkpoint to bounce back on is something that I don't generally do. I would prefer to just run away from him and find space. And it's not the fastest way, and it's not the coolest way, but it's definitely the safest, in my opinion. Like, I would go as far as, I would rather shoot him in the face and get the flinch than duke the punch. And if you're watching my stream the other day, I was doing the juke with the punch, and it worked fine. But the one time you need it to work on a run like this is the run where you get hit. And that's the kind of player that I am, guys. I always plan for the best. Sorry, I always plan for the worst, but hope for the best. And usually, the worst finds me. And be very careful now. The problem that you're going to face coming back up this way is that all those zombies that you ducked the first time are going to be in places you might not know. And I'm about to jump here. See that? See how my aimer moved really weird just then as I turned that corner? I couldn't remember that I'd knocked his leg off and I didn't know where he was. So when I turned that corner and he growled and he jumped at me from the corner, it made me physically jump. I moved my mouse off my mouse pad. And it was one of those butt-clenching moments. But afterwards I was fine because it's like, oh, I'm good, we're good. And then I can stick the bomb on there, come through here to make sure that the bookcase doesn't go forward, even though technically I think on this scenario it doesn't go forward anyway, because you don't have to contend with the liquor here. And right now, I'm a bit tentative because I don't know where Mr. X is. And this is a really good room for ducking and diving Mr. X because you've got a nice central divider to run away from, but I don't want to get into a position where he cuts me off. So the solution here is ram, and then I think it's harp, and then I think it's the bird. There we go. I know these, but I don't know these, if you know what I mean. I've got them in my brain, but my brain likes to troll me. And I look over there quickly, I don't see him. I hear the zombie drop. I'm going to walk past him because I don't need to mess with him. And now we've got all the medallions, we can get on to Birkin 1. And Birkin 1 by about 20 minutes is good time, I think. So if you're following in my footsteps, guys, congratulations. You've just done probably one of the trickiest parts of the run in about 20 minutes. And I say that the police station is the trickiest part of the run because it's the part where the sloppy resets happen. There are a few parts... Look at this, by the way. This is when the game decides to hate me. Why would they be there, dude? Two dudes bang next to where I need to be, and the woman on the stairs is going to start coming down as well, and Mr. X is on his way somewhere. Like, look at this fucking nonsense. This is where the game is just being a dick. There's no reason for this. And then Marvin gives me a bit of a respite and goes up the stairs, which was nice of him. But I'm cognizant now that if I shoot my gun, Mr. X is going to be like, hang on a second, love, I'll be there in a moment. And I don't want that to happen. And I could have just ran for it and hit the trigger and just put the medals in. That scared me. That lunge was pretty uncalled for, woman. I don't know why you're being so hysterical. And my inventory right now is in such a state that I'm having to balance items while balancing zombies while balancing Mr. X, so it gets a bit hairy. And you could just grab this one the first time you see it and stick it in for future reference. But, you know, I managed to pull it off, and that's what matters. You're not going to see perfect play here, guys. You're going to see lots of mistakes, but you're going to see something that will help if you need it, and that's what it's all about. And that was pretty cathartic, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one for wasting grenades. I like to use grenades in very... Watch this, by the way. Did you see that? Motherfucker takes a grenade and then double charges me, and I somehow don't get bit. I thought I was done then. I legitimately thought that was the end of the run. And it just goes to show, guys, you can skirt death that close, that fine razor's edge, and you can still pull it back. Because that's exactly what I'm going to do now. But that was a scary moment, and I'm so glad it made the footage, because it's those moments that usually you don't get to see. But never ever underestimate how far the zombies will chase you when they want to grab you. It's preposterously stupid, and I do not like it. I also don't like that they can immediately grab after a second grab. I feel like they should have a cooldown, because it's not fair. And fundamentally, survival horrors are meant to be fierce, they're meant to be hard, but they're meant to be fair, right? I feel like things like The Last of Us... The Last of Us is a fair game. It's hard, but it's fair. Dead Space is hard, but it's fair. This game, a lot of the times, it's not really fair. It's kind of bullshit. But we get used to it, and we just embrace it. Because it's never going to change, you know? I've been looking for patch notes for this game. I've been wondering, is there anything Capcom are going to change? Are they going to change that Claire moves faster when she's in caution? Which makes no sense, because having full HP should have fastest movement speed. Resident Evil's kind of always been about that. This one isn't. Claire moves faster when she's in caution. It makes no sense. It's obviously an oversight. It must be a bug. Are they going to fix the knife? The knife does damage. Every frame it makes contact. So every time you slash it, you're doing like 6 knife attacks. That's a problem. That's not meant to work like that, but it does. There are so many aspects of the game where they could maybe tweak it a little bit. Maybe tweak the zombies so that they don't mega grab you and boomer turn for no fucking reason. Maybe make the zombies so that they can't wait next to doors and grab you the moment you enter. There's so many things that could maybe be tweaked, but I just don't know if they'll do it. But the knife strategy for Birkin is going to be wail on him until he stops transforming, throw a grenade at your feet to avoid the grab if you're going for grabless, and then proceed to wail on him again. However, on this strategy, I was still using my defend against him, so it doesn't work the same. But I'm going to chuck my grenade now, and then I'm going to shoot him with the magnum, the machine gun. Because the machine gun does a lot of damage, and if you hit him in the eye, you do maximum crit against him. But unfortunately, the next time you see this fight, you're going to see a much slicker encounter. Even though that was a good fight, I'm not going to complain about that. The machine gun comes in handy there, so does the grenade launcher if you want to use it. But I wanted to do the classic strat. And on my Leon B, which I'm going to be doing probably tonight, I'm going to knife that boss, and I'm not going to get grabbed. So I'm going to show you a slightly different way of doing it. And then by the time we do Claire A, I'm probably going... On Claire A, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use iframes on the grenade launcher to skirt damage. And it's going to make him really, really, really easy. So I can hopefully show that off maybe. The problem with that, though, is because I don't have any checkpoint to fall back on, if I make one mistake, it's all gone. And it's really easy to make one mistake because the hitboxes in this game are about as, you know, delicate as an elephant on stilts. But come back to Sherry, pick up the gunpowder, and then we can get on with the next section. But as I was saying, guys, the police station is one of those areas where the sloppy resets happen the most, because you know it the most. It's the beginning of the game. You always have more of a fondness and more of a memory for the beginning of a game, because when a game starts, you're optimistic, right? It's before the bullshit happens. So getting bullshit in the RPD is always the worst kind of bullshit, because you feel like you deserved better. And of course, it's not over yet, because we will be going back, and when we go back, it is arguably a little bit more tricky. But you'll do it. But outside of sloppy resets, where are the places in this run that you're going to get hit? Or where are the places in this run that you're going to have trouble? Because you guys probably are just trying to get your S+ to get your infinite weapon, right? So, for me, the first real place that I'm concerned about is Birkin 1. And I'm concerned about Birkin 1 because, in spite of knowing exactly how to fight him and having consistently good fights against him, I always second-guess the fact that I might take a sloppy hit or something might go wrong, because the game is evil, and I know it's evil. I've been to its sepulchre full of satanic figurines and various monoliths and edifices that are all cherished and adorned with sculptures of Satan. Which is just a very verbose way of saying that the game is very random, the RNG is brutal. The second place that I worry about is the dogs, because The dogs in the car park are something you have to put down, because running past them is random. Getting hit is one of those things that the game allows you to, or it doesn't. So it's really not something you can do when you go for no damage. You have to play safe. And then the section after that is, of course, the G-Unit corridor. The G-Unit corridor in the colon is the worst part of the game, for me personally. And even though I've got a really consistent strategy and I like it a lot, because I refuse to use a grenade in that sequence, I have no backup strat. Because a good backup strat is to grenade the second G-Unit guy, and then you can just run past him and you should be fine. But I prefer to save and then do it without getting grabbed. And it usually takes me anywhere between 1 attempt to maybe 10 attempts. And it's just not good enough, really, because that section's really badly designed. But then once you get past that, the only real problems are going to be Birkin 2, because Birkin 2 control you. Birkin 3, because Birkin 3 control you, and maybe the Ivies. The Ivies can be a real pain in the ass. But luckily, Birkin 2, Birkin 3, and the Ivies all have much better checkpoints than these ones do. If you come in here, this particular shelf will have a flash grenade, which you can grab. You can also pull these trays out to a certain point and then still grab the item if you don't want to trigger the spawn. It might be worth doing it. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to try and do it, because I keep pulling it out to a certain point and then going to try and pick it up and it doesn't work. This is another instance of a massive time loss for me, and by massive, it's probably only 10 seconds, but it makes me feel like a twat. But it's useful to do this in some ways, you could say, because I have actually had these zombies interfere with the section with the dogs on Leon B when I'm running back after turning the power on. But it wasn't this zombie on the gurney there that was the problem, it was this guy. This guy can leave the room. I had no idea he could leave this room, and I had to contend with him, which was rather interesting. But now that you've got that key, you have to walk past this guy. This is a bit of a nail-biter, that first section. Walking past him like that is not difficult, guys, as long as you hug the left wall. But I will confirm, on stream when I was doing this run, before I did this, I've had that guy aggro. And then this guy here is going to aggro. Do not walk down the middle of this street. See this? I walked too close to him, and apparently he knew where I was. I can't even begin to tell you the clench of the anus just then. I learnt a very important lesson, that when they poke their head down like that, if you're walking on the spine on the middle of a walkway, you will be too close and they will detect you. What did you think about that, guys? Did you think that was fair? Did you think that that's how that should work? Because at the time, I felt like that was bullshit, but watching it back, I feel like I deserved it. And I'm not angry at that licker. I think he did what he should do, but I've never had that happen before. And I've walked down the middle of the corridors while they've done that, and they've never done it. But this run, because it's a special run, boom, he aggroes, and immediately I have to react. Because that was a hair-raising moment, definitely. The easiest way to avoid it, guys, hug the left or hug the right. You'll not come into close proximity then, and he can't aggro. But once again, this is Remake. Everything goes wrong, you know? Everything you think is working, and then it messes up. And there's just nothing you can really do. You just have to adapt. And I think it's going to give the game a lot of legs. I think people are going to be playing this for many years. But it means for the person who's a bit more casual, who just wants to get these ranks and leave, for that person, they're going to have a tougher time. Because they don't want to learn all the nuance. They don't want to repeatedly run this game. They just want to get their achievement or whatever, and then get back to whatever they were doing. So for that player, it's going to be tough. But hopefully there's enough videos on YouTube right now of people doing runs like this. Some of them have commentary, I think. I don't think all of them do, but hopefully my commentary can at least give you some advice and a bit of motivation, because just seeing something be done is enough motivation for a lot of people to realise that they can do it if they try hard enough. And I don't actually think that this is that difficult, I don't. It's not easy by any measure, but compared to some things you can do in video games, I think that this is very achievable, and I think you're going to be fine. But right now, I'm dumping off everything I can into my box because we're going back into the RPD. We're going to be coming through into the other wing, and then from here we're going to be doing probably the easiest part to mess up in the police station. And I say the easiest part to mess up because it's liquor territory. And liquor territory with Mr. X is kind of scary. And I've seen some speedrunners touch a door to despawn lickers, and I've seen various other strategies. I can't say if any of it really works. I feel like it's so luck-based. By the way, the rank must be pretty high right now because this guy's taking it. Might have been a good idea here to just shoot him with a grenade launcher, because this guy's going to troll me, as evidenced by him not being where he's supposed to be right now. And then Japanese tourist is just over there in the corner, and then I look back down here and he's real close. Look at this. Look how fast he is. But we got his leg, thankfully. Shoot him in the face a bit. Here comes Shinji. Shinji's coming to ask me why I haven't seen the final movie in the Neon Genesis Evangelion series, which I'm going to say, fuck you, Shinji, take that to the leg.
Son of a bitch.
And then he takes a bunch of bullets. And right now, I'm wishing I had an infinite knife just to make sure everybody was dead. Bit of reload frustration from Chris there. And now we're going to get on with the rest of our story. So pick up the cog. Lament the fact you're carrying a bunch of keys you don't need. And I am going to discard something now. This is one of those kind of heartbreaking moments, but I have to do it. I could have got a knife in the room with the part as well, which is just in front of me now. But I can't even pick the knife up now because I don't have the space for it. So I would definitely recommend maybe inventory managing a little better than I did, getting rid of the keys that I'm not going to use. But for me, when I don't have those keys, I get scared I'm going to need them. Obviously, that pink key I don't need, but the green key sometimes you do. But go over to the ladder. Relish in the factor that it's not going to break, which is kind of a nice twist. And here's a question for you, kind people who are watching this video. What did you reckon about the scenarios? Did you think they were good? Did you think they were bad? I personally thought that the B scenario was going to be way different, and it's only the start that's different. The start is different, and then there's one or two little details that are different, but fundamentally, I feel like they really dropped the ball, and I don't know Resident Evil 2 very well. I don't remember what they were originally, so I can't tell you just how different they were. I understand they had the zapping system and things of that nature, and Mr. X only turned up on, was it B scenario and things? But I feel like Capcom kinda rested on their laurels a little bit in the second campaigns. I feel like they could have been really, really good. And in my opinion, I don't think you should ever do the same things that Leon did. I feel like your adventure should be completely separate but interlink. And it isn't. It's essentially Leon's path with a couple of slight differences, and I really feel like they could have done better. And I don't know what they would have done, and it might have been very difficult and very expensive, but I don't like fighting the same bosses. I don't like doing the same things. I don't like that the puzzles are the same, but they just change the solutions. It doesn't make sense. The more you analyze it, the more you realize that you shouldn't be analyzing Resident Evil with realism, but at the same time, you kind of do, right? And I'm wondering what the consensus is, what people think, because I like this scenario. It's my favourite scenario, but I still feel like it feels like it's just kind of copy-pasted a little bit. Here's another piece of time loss for people that are really competitive. Completely forgot to turn the flames off. Lost about 5 seconds to that, probably more. But 5 seconds is not a lot, dude. I'm trying to cut off like 30 minutes, and I'm not going to get it by accidentally not missing shit like that. And then I do my tried and tested sit next to the red bench of truth. You see, the red bench of truth is so powerful that Mr. X loses you. He has no concept of red benches of truth. So, there you go. And now you get to walk back into the corridor and hope he's not anywhere close. You can shoot him in the face and run past him. It's very doable. You can bait a punch and run past him. That's what all the speedrunners do. I do it this way. It's a little safer, a little slower. But it's the way that works for me, you know? And then hopefully what you want here is you want Mr. X to go towards the art room. You do not want him to go towards the stairs and the exit, but he can. And then we're going to go down the stairs ourselves, and then we don't have to worry about him too much. And last night I was listening to the new Health album, which is amazing, guys. If you like Max Payne's soundtrack for Max Payne 3, and you like Health, the new album, oh my god, really, really good. Very, very happy with it. So I was listening to that while listening to a podcast, while playing this game, and I was running Leon B, hardcore, trying to scrim the beginning of the game to see if it's any different than Claire, see if I have to do anything that's slightly altered. And what ended up happening is, on Claire's, because she has that red key, she has a super sexy path towards the archive room, doesn't she? Where she can completely avoid the lickers. Leon doesn't. So, there's 2 lickers in a corridor, and I ended up getting fucked by them. And I don't know why, because when I went into the archive room through this door, usually Mr. X spawns, comes and puts pressure on you, and then you just get out and you continue on and do the library. He never came. He didn't come to the room when I picked up the lever, so I waited a while, and then I decided to go outside, and as I opened the door, there was a fucking licker in my face, and I aggroed it. And it was just at that moment I knowed I'd messed up. But see that? Look how aggressive this guy is. The moment I touch it, he teleports and starts trying to rape me. This is bullshit. But with Leon, nothing. It's like I'd missed a meeting. And everybody was there, and they all agreed upon something, and Chris didn't know. But look at this beautiful path. Walk all the way back into the main room, and we can get the hell out of Dodge as if we were never even there. Fantastic, right? But you can't do this with Leon. And I'm legitimately kind of tentative now about that section, because I think I'm going to have to use a flashbang. And I don't want to use a flashbang. I like flashbangs. They keep me warm in the cold winter nights. But it seems like, what else am I going to do if those lickers are going to be there and I'm running on a like 30-minute run where I haven't saved? I don't want it getting ruined by lickers. Lickers are one of the reasons you should never lose a run. And just then, did you see me kind of second-guess the door? It's because I heard somebody banging on a door and I couldn't tell if it was the one downstairs or this one. Turns out it was downstairs. We're all safe, but it's always good to keep your head on a swivel. And I will tell you guys, when you are doing these runs, when you get to like minute 36 and you're running through these areas, you're pretty sharp. You're about as sharp as you're ever going to be playing the game because there's a lot at stake. So you've got a bit of adrenaline. I have no nerves at this point, which is good. I'm getting over the nerves, which is a nice feeling. And then, of course, be careful of the guy on the corner here, who I think was designed to just grab you like a cunt. This guy's one of the worst zombies in the game because he exists to just grab you and you can't see him and he makes no noise. There's about 3 areas in the game where there's a zombie like that, and I think it's dumb. You know, every time you see a zombie and they see you, they sing the national anthem, don't they? The national anthem in the chipmunk voice, just constantly making zombie noises. But the moment that you don't know where one is, fucking silent. Absolute abject silence. Just completely devoid of noise. And it's really dumb. Like, what is this? Is this like a fucking tree falling in a forest but no one can hear it? Is this a zombie singing in the distance behind a sheet of paper but nobody can hear it? You know, is it Schrodinger's twat? What is this? I can't understand it. And it's really bullshit, because how many times have you been grabbed by super sneaky zombies? You wouldn't think that would be a thing. Super sneaky zombies? Come on now. That's alliterative, and that's way too creative for the realism of this game. But alas, it happens, and it's happened to me a lot. But I don't generally get grabbed in the leg. A buddy of mine, Godfather Dictator, who is a really, really good YouTuber and streamer, if you want to check out my recommended channels, he's in there. He had so many leg grabs, I couldn't help but feel for him. He got the worst luck of zombies coming back alive and grabbing his leg. I've never seen anything like it. Like, he had a dozen runs ruined by essential bullshit. Like, if it had been me doing that sequence, doing the exact same thing that happened to him, the zombie would not have got up and grabbed me. But just because it was him, it grabbed him. It was like, it was the worst thing to watch. Because it wasn't fair. Like, there are times when you put so much damage into a zombie and you're almost certain it's dead, and then it's not. And it was one of those moments where, on any other time, the amount of punishment that he gave it would have been enough. But because he hadn't saved, it just bit him in the balls. But he's also doing S+ no damage on his channel. So if you're interested in watching a different perspective, his strats are completely different to mine. Very different, so it'll be very enjoyable if you're as hooked on Resident Evil 2 as I am. Because I'm really deep, guys. I love this game so much. And in 2 days we get DLC, and it's the same day that Metro Exodus drops, which I want to play and cover Metro, but I'm so deep in Resident Evil 2, I kind of want to just keep playing this. So I think I'm going to see what happens, because I don't know if my PC can run Metro, because Metro is notorious for killing rigs. And the idea of streaming Metro at 1080p while playing it at decent spec is just not going to happen, I don't think. I get the feeling it's going to destroy me. But that's not a problem. I can always drop everything down and then we can take the piss out of how silly it looks. It'll be like playing Kingdom Hearts on Xbox One. A horrible experience of blurry, faded, low-resolution textures that are sharp and ugly and make you hate yourself. But here's your box. Dump your keys. You're not going to need them again. And dump whatever else you don't need. I would only recommend ever having one type of a grenade, because I feel like if you have more than one type of grenade and you start getting grabbed, it feels okay to take the grabs, and it should never feel okay to take the grabs. You should want to never get grabbed, guys. Save your resources. If you have the infinite knife, though, it's different. Infinite knife enables you to constantly defend yourself if you're willing to kill, and at that point, to get the knife back, I would be willing to kill. And here is Claire's puzzle. So the puzzles are different on B, and you'll notice that there's a bit of an edit there, guys, because I had to look up the path to see what this was supposed to look like. And then, ironically enough, even having looked at the path that the strategy online showed, I couldn't do it. It was that thing of like, didn't it go up this way? Didn't it do this way? And then didn't it go that way? And then it went this way? So I ended up doing it on myself anyway. But just know that there's a few ways to do this. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it however you want to. There's like 2 or 3 solutions, I think. And I'm never going to be the guy you want to go to learn the puzzles, because I'm rubbish at puzzles. And speaking of puzzles, I hope you like the worst part of the game. So the Ada sections are a section that are quite controversial, potentially, because you run around with a Tesco price tagger, shooting imaginary fans and things. I say imaginary, they're holographic, aren't they? Is a hologram imaginary? Probably not. You have imagined it, technically, and it isn't tangible. And if it's not malleable, well, it is malleable, because you can change the blueprint. It's a confusing conversation for people smarter than me, but I like the Ada sections, I do. There's only one section, I could do with more of them, that's how much I like them, and you would normally never hear me say this, because I'm the guy that's like, delete it, burn it, set it on fire, piss on it, and then sink it. But I like them. I don't like Sherry's section. I think Sherry's section is bait for a first playthrough that is exciting once and then tedious every other time. And you have to do it every time you play as Claire, and it really bugs me. I don't know why they've designed it this way. I wish there was more to it, but there simply isn't. And there we go, puzzle solved. There's an achievement for doing this room in under 60 seconds, which, depending on the look of the blocks, you can do quite quickly, so you shouldn't have too many problems with it. I do think it's funny that she needs scissors to get through something that every child I've ever met could destroy accidentally just by virtue of existing. And then, on PC, to get through that and crouch, you have to hold the right trigger. Holding the right trigger is a bizarre notion to me. It really is, because traditionally, when I hold the right trigger, I'm aiming a gun. But with Sherry, it looks like she's having a piss. And I really would prefer it if you could have it as toggle, personally, because I think it'd be a bit better. But for some reason, I haven't seen that option in the menu. But what do you guys think? Do you like this section? Do you think it adds anything to the game? I think that this is the closest this game has to being a different type of game. Like, this reminds me of something like Outlast or Amnesia, because you spend most of it completely powerless, hiding from some kind of greater sense of, like, a greater presence, some entity that is unkillable and unknowable and fierce and very, very dangerous, which just translates to some fat police guy who grabs you, and that's the end of the game. Additionally, this is only I think the 3rd time I've ever done this sequence, so I end up going the wrong way, which you're going to really appreciate, because going the wrong way on this section can end in a fail state, which is a terrible thing to happen. If I had lost this run to Sherry, I would have been pissed off. I'm not even going to lie. Like, losing a run to a gimmicky bullshit section like this, that's not cool. That's almost as bad as losing a run to your mouse disconnecting, which I haven't had any problems with my mouse disconnecting since the last run, which is really, really good. Because if I was... Can you imagine being in the sewer, getting chased by the crocodile, and your mouse disconnects? It wouldn't make a difference because you use the keyboard at that point, but just imagine losing control of Leon and then knowing the croc's going to eat you. That must be terrifying. And now we get to play hide and seek. And this will be interesting for a nice bit of interactive YouTube viewing. How many people, and be honest, you little cheaters, how many people have ever done this room the way I'm about to do it? I'm very curious, because I love this game. When I'm not playing this game, I'm usually watching it. And from what I've seen, every single person I've seen play this game, which is not a large amount of people, admittedly, I've watched The Godfather Dictator, I've watched Carcinogen, I've watched Distortion, I've watched Bork B Soup, I think he's called, and then I've watched that Vipe Zone guy who finds all the glitches. Those are the people I've watched play this game. Some for a large amount of time when I've been editing and stuff, others for not so large amount of time. Every person I've seen who does this room hides under the table just across from us now when you're going across the other side of the room. I actually didn't know you could hide under that table, which, whatever. However, I did figure out that when this character turns back towards us and comes back this way and bangs his leg, you have complete immunity to run to the end. And when I say run, I mean just move quickly. Don't actually run, you'll probably get caught. But if you watch, if you hug this right-hand side and go straight forward now towards the door, he will turn around, but he will not see you. And you can now sit at the end and wait for the trigger to end this sequence. And I've never seen anybody else do it. And I'm asking if anyone of you guys have done it or seen it yourself, because I'm very interested to see if anybody's figured that out. But once again, on the internet, I think everybody's done everything, haven't they? Somebody did this before I was born with their feet while they were inside their own parent, because they were giving birth to them, and only the bottom part of their body was out of the vagina at that point. But I like this strategy because you can just kind of sit here and you don't have to do anything now for the rest of it. I don't know if it's faster. I've never timed it. But the next time I do this, I'm going to definitely sit underneath the desk and see what it's all about, because I've never used a desk as a fort as Sherry, and I think it could be a cool idea. I'd like to do this section with Hunk and the Lightning Hawk so I can shoot the Chief in the face, but I feel like it'll just softlock the game. He's probably invincible. I don't know what his HP value is, but it's bound to be incredibly high. For instance, the Tyrant at the end of the game, guys, his HP threshold is 99999999999 repeating. The only thing is, if you shoot him with a rocket launcher, it's programmed to kill him. The rocket launcher only does 3,000 damage. And apparently the fastest way to do that... By the way, that's the wrong way. You shouldn't go to that door. I went to that door because I'm silly. But the consensus on the Tyrant at the moment, that you're not going to see because Claire has a different final boss, but the consensus is, if you stun him 3 times, at that point, that is the fastest that you need to do to then get the timer to count down and give you the rocket launcher. Because we used to think it was to do with damaging him 1,000, but I don't think it is. Trans was testing it the other night. Oh, and Trans, did I not say Trans? Shit, I meant to say Trans. I've also watched Trans play this game. Trans was testing it the other night to see just how much he needed to do it consistently, and it seems like once you get 3 stuns, you can just avoid the Tyrant and boom, the section will end at its quickest, which is really good to know. But fascinating that he has so much HP. And I know he's got so much HP because I fought the Tyrant with the trainer on, and I've had unlimited ammunition in everything, so I've shot him with the Desert Eagle like 1,000,000 times. I've had the flamethrower on him for weeks. I've thrown infinite grenades at him, and he never ever goes down. He never like stops. It's ridiculous. Like, you can cheat the full game with trainers and cheat engine, kill everything in one touch, and then you get to the Tyrant, and the one hit kill mod doesn't work because his life is just endless. However, if you fire the rocket at him, it kills him because it's a kill switch for him, which is really interesting. And some modders have figured out how to swap all the enemies in the game with Tyrants and Birkins. So there was a dude on YouTube who was playing the game where every zombie was replaced by Final Tyrant or Birkin 3. Or Birkin 1 maybe. Birkin 1 and Final Tyrant. Which I think sounds ridiculous, but I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Because that could be a fun thing to do, couldn't it? So once you use the keycard here, Mr. X spawns, but if you loop around the car, you can kind of get some decent distance and separation, and then you can come underneath the barrier. Shout out to the stream where I got bit by the zombie coming up. So before I did this run, I was doing a pseudo practice run on my stream with my viewers, and I got to this gate here, and somebody said, like, you should probably save. I'm like, I'm not going to save, I'm not going to get bit. And then when this gate comes down, the zombie who's on it grabbed my fucking leg. And he didn't just bite my leg, he climbed my entire torso, sat on my face, like, phoned his mum to tell her where he was, and then bit me. It was the most frustrating thing in the world because she just didn't stab him in the jaw and push him off. Which is another thing that bugs me about this game. There's absolutely no way to get out of fucking grabs outside of being grabbed from the side. And who the hell gets grabbed from the side? Like, it just doesn't happen, you know? I've seen more celestial entities in the real world than I have been grabbed from the side in this game. Like, it's just profoundly silly. And speaking of profoundly silly, this zombie can climb over that blue bin. I don't know if you knew this. I didn't know this. So I'm thinking, oh, now I've shot her, she can't do it. But she can. And I only have 10 bullets to kill. How many dogs is it? 4 dogs? And then she starts climbing and I get worried. Section over here, though, the dog climbs over the car, and then there's one dog eating another something. And then you go into the basketball court, and there's about 3 dogs there, and then there's another 2 dogs afterwards. It's kind of dense with the dogs. And at this moment in time, I'm really wishing I brought more guns. But luckily, this is why I brought the machine gun, because the machine gun is very strong. It might not seem as strong as it is, but it's surprisingly very strong. So as long as you use it correctly, you can kill things really quickly. I just hate the reticle, dude. I hate that reticle. It reminds me of the Spec Ops The Line beta. Anybody play that? When Jaeger were first making Spec Ops The Line, and I was super excited for it because I thought it looked amazing, there was a private closed beta for the multiplayer, and I got a key for it. And when I started playing, just the reticle choices in that game were horrendous, dude. It was the weirdest things. It made shooting really obnoxious. And I'm not the biggest multiplayer guy unless the multiplayer is really, really good. So I played about 4 games and then I never played it again. And then when the full game came out, I never touched it. Because it wasn't very good. So right now, luckily, on that bench, there was a bunch of machine gun bullets, which is super handy. And then there's one more dog just cruising forward. So we'll take him down. I didn't have to fire the second time then. The first barrage was enough to kill, which was nice. And then now, there is going to be a trolley dog who's really, really annoying. There's also a zombie on this bus, which makes me wish I had a knife, but I don't. They do give you a grenade, though, so if you want to waste a grenade, feel free. There's me not trusting this at all. You might be thinking, Chris, that's a waste of ammo, why are you doing that? 50 minutes in, dog, and I'm not saved. 50 minutes in, I am not a perfect player. At this point, I just don't want to fuck up. And every single thing right now is a potential mistake waiting to happen. So that's why I'm shooting this zombie, for instance. And then I hear the dog, and I couldn't remember if the dog could get on the bus. So this is one of those kind of nervous moments where I'm like, if I get attacked from behind right now, I'm probably going to do absolutely nothing and just restart the run like a bitch. So he goes down, and then this dog, guys, he's not dead? Of course he's not dead, Chris, this is Resident Evil. This is what happens when your rank is number 12. Even the bloody torso-less guys are still kicking dicks. Even though he has a torso, which makes no sense. Here we go. So, this is the skeet shooting dog section. Which is not too bad when you got mouse and keyboard, but the problem here is I'm nervous, and I don't want to waste ammo, because I don't have it. So I'm just going to take one shot, and then eventually this dog gets really smart and realises every time he runs in front of this doorway, he gets shot. So he's not going to do that anymore, he's going to stand in front of the bus barking at me. Which is really annoying. Look, he's changed his path, you see this? Look at him! Little shit! Come back! This is me getting annoyed now, like, come on, dude! The clock is ticking. But you've got to give it to the AI, it's clever. It might not be what I want, and it's kind of frustrating, but it's a smart move. And then we put him down, and I can confirm the music subsides, and all the enemies are done. So hopefully, you had about the same amount of ammunition as I had, perhaps even more. If you pick up more things, you'll have more ammo, but I was trying to do this as kind of bare minimum as I could. Because if I can show you how to do this with the least amount of stuff, you can do it by grabbing a few extra things, you know? And you don't even need to, that's the glory. Claire is so powerful in this game that fighting the bosses as Claire feels like you're cheating. She just has so many tools. Tools that make her invincible, tools that stun bosses guaranteed. And then if you don't want to use those tools, you can still use the knife, and the knife is still preposterously strong. And for those people wondering, guys, the knife is good on consoles. It's not as good as it is on PC, but it's still really good. Do not be these people that are saying the knife is worthless at 60 frames per second. The knife is amazing at 60 frames per second. It's just not as stupidly amazing as it is on PC at 120. That's all, guys. I saw Distortion do a speedrun on hardcore at 60 frames per second, and he knifed almost every boss. And obviously, Distortion is an amazing player and a great speedrunner, but if he's using it for a very good reason, right? And that's what you have to realise. You're not going to destroy them like you'll see people on PC with 200 frames, but you're going to still do more damage than you would if you did anything else. And right there was rare footage of Chris using the faster tech on the stairs, which I've been meaning to do this more so I can talk about it in the video, so that's a pretty good thing to start tangentially moving on to. So if you want to optimize your movement, guys, for maximum efficiency, whenever you go upstairs or go downstairs, your character will go into a specific animation of doing kind of like a stair step. It's a detail that's very animation heavy, but it's also slightly slower than your average movement speed. So if you aim your gun and then release, as you go into the aiming of your gun, you get a forward boost, a slight momentum boost. So if you just flick aim, flick aim, flick aim, flick aim, and then get back to solid ground, you will have moved faster than you would if you simply ran across it. And it's not something that's going to make the biggest difference, but if you're literally trying to save seconds and minutes, after a full run, you're going to save some time. And I think The reason why Godfather Dictator's run is faster than mine is because he was using sexy stair tech, and of course I believe that that is cheating, so his run is invalid, and I am indeed the best Resident Evil 2 player. It's confirmed, my mum told me, she got the camera, there's a photo, you weren't there. This room is a nightmare, by the way. I hate this fucking room. This room is so random and so dog shit, I'm not a fan. And normally, I throw a flashbang in that room, and of course, on this run, I didn't have a flash, so I had to use a normal grenade. But that is the last barrier between you and your save point here. Because once again, guys, I'm going to save early. And I save early because I'm confident in the corridor, and I'm confident in Birkin 2. However, if you want to optimize your save, you should save before Birkin 2, when the door is open after you've done the chess puzzles. But I don't do that save. That is the kind of the halcyon save of something I always wanted to do, but I never do it. And it stems from never trusting the corridor of dickheads. That's what it is. And on this particular run, it was a really good thing that I saved, because the first time I did it, it didn't go my way. But on other runs, when I have saved, it has gone my way, because it's bloody random. And I do feel like having a grenade to throw in that section to break a grab and run past is arguably the safest way to do it, but it still involves being grabbed, and it still involves using a grenade, which just rubs me the wrong way. Additionally here, guys, you want to open the safe that's over there. If you do Leon's campaign, in that safe is a stock for the shotgun that you don't really need. It's nice to have, but it's not essential. Whereas Claire gets an attachment for that original pistol that turns it into a magnum, and having a magnum is incredibly powerful. But I like to use a grenade there to try and kill those zombies. Spoiler alert and plot twist, it generally doesn't kill them, because the zombies at this point, because of the rank, are generally nightmares. Absolute nightmares. And what I should have done here, guys, is I should have gone and got the other piece. Because the next time I do this, I'm going to go and get the castle, and I'm going to come back and save. And the only reason I didn't do it for this one is because I'd intended to do a section where I don't shoot things. And I don't know if you've ever gone for the castle, but the guy stands up in the room behind you, there's a guy in front of you, and if you're even a moment too slow, it's easy to get grabbed. So, I'm going to drop a safety save. Which brings me to the topic of saving with Claire, because I think this is important. You do not have to save in the same place as you saved with Leon, in my opinion. The thing with Claire is, because her guns are so powerful, she does not have the same struggles against bosses as Leon does. You do not have to play as good. You have so many more tools as her that really wreck. So what it leads to an understanding and a confidence level that you don't have to drop saves before bosses. So you don't really have to save at the end of the game, in my opinion. Because beating Birkin 2 and beating G4 and then G5 is not that challenging with her. Like, G4 is the easiest final boss because you can just kite it, and there's almost no reason to ever really get hit. If you get hit, you did something dumb. And I get hit a lot because I'm dumb. But objectively, it's easier than Tyrant, because Tyrant is in a really small section of environment, and it makes it kind of a pain in the dick. See, just then, the only real times I stutter step is when I need to get some speed. And right now, because a zombie's standing up, I'm using it for speed. So that's an example of how you use it, guys. So you could save earlier on, save someplace that you're not confident with, then save before Birkin 2, any point, before this corridor, after this corridor, up to you, and then you could save your final save for Birkin 2 boss fight, and then just do the end of the game. Because it's not bad at all, guys. It really isn't. I saved in the same places that I saved in my previous run, because I just kind of wanted to have that posterity between the two runs. But in the next two that I'm doing, I'm going to try my best to save differently. And it scares me, because the idea of like taking additional risks is dumb, but I kind of want to do it because I've already done it, you know? I want to keep pushing myself. So this is important, guys. If this guy doesn't dive, like he just didn't, we're in trouble. But luckily, he does his big slam, and I'm going to run under it. Watch this. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is hitbox pornography. And it's sexy. And here's the iframes from the grenade launcher. There you go. Very nice. But that is a different strategy of doing the corridor, which is sick. But it also highlights the flaw in the previous strategy. sometimes that monster doesn't dive, and if it doesn't dive, you have to deal with it. So if you can get the pattern that I got, because here's what happens differently there, guys, if you're wondering. He either does the fist that he did, or he summons the children. If he summons the children, you can run past him as well. If he doesn't, and he proceeds to move forward, chances are the sperms that are already in the water from the previous guy are going to hit you from behind, and they poison you, so it's generally a reset. But don't bother with the second zombie here, guys, you can lock him in. I'm not going to be getting the spark shot. The spark shot is incredibly powerful. It does almost no damage until the end, and then it does like 1,000 damage on its final hit if you fully charge it, so it's incredibly ludicrously powerful. It can also kill the G-Unit guys in the water in like 1 to 2 shots depending on how you hit them. However, it's too much inventory space, and it kills my game when I use it because the frame rate dies, and I don't really want to share that with you because it's awful. I did a novelty run on Twitch where I used the cheat engine to give Claire that gun at the beginning of the game. Sorry, I gave it Leon, actually. So, well, technically I was playing as Hunk. So, I'm playing as Hunk, using Claire's gun for the full game, and it was just a shitfest the entire time because it was like watching a stream in 140p, like 144p at 1 frame a minute. It was awful. And this is me getting trolled right now. This happened again on stream the other day. So, this dude will not turn around, and I'm not wasting bullets on him because I need him to turn around, but there's also another guy here, and if the other guy turns up, I'm done. I'm completely done. But he turns around and then he starts summoning the children, and I can run past him for free. So this was a beautiful G-Unit. You know, as far as it goes, I was really, really happy with this section. And then because my strategy here doesn't involve standing on that ledge, adding a zombie does absolutely nothing to my my method here. So that zombie can do all he wants because I'm never going to stand on there. If you ever see me climb up there, guys, it's because Claire did it and I didn't want her to do it. And it happens a lot, unfortunately. Claire fucking climbing shit she shouldn't climb. And it stems from the fact that there are certain movement cues that will trigger by movement alone instead of pressing interact, and I disagree with that. You should never drop down a ledge unless you press the button to drop down the ledge. I think it's bad design, personally. I know why they've done it. It's accessibility, it's modern, it's mainstream, but it's not useful. And I think you're going to see me get grabbed because of it, because it's this next guy. How many times have you ever seen this fucking G-Unit guy hit me here? Never, right? It never happens, because I've got a perfect strategy. I know this section flawlessly. And guess what? I'm standing at the edge, I take 1 inch forward to have a little look down the corridor, and she jumps down and I get grabbed. And I was so angry, dude. Because up until Birkin, even though it's technically a Birkin strat, this is a grabless run. And I thought I was going to be able to do a full grabless run. And I might still do it. That might have been on a failed attempt. But I think it isn't. I think I ate the grab. Because I only have 1 grenade for Birkin coming up, and right now I have 2. Which makes me really sad. And it is my fault. I'm not going to say that it's not my fault. It is my fault. I know better. But at the same time, I didn't want her to jump down, you know? Be careful here, guys, as well. This zombie's always really close. If you hold backwards coming out of the menu, you generally run past him, and he doesn't give you any problems. There's some bullets on the side, but my inventory's so full right now it doesn't matter. And then here it is, the moment of shame. Because what happens is, if you know his animations, you'll know his animation for dropping down where he can't touch you. But I got too close. There it was. And the moment I started climbing, I just committed to moving forward. Because I knew I was fucked. God, I hate that. I hate that so much. I'm just embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed that that happened. There's just no planet where that should have happened. But it did. And, you know, you gotta deal with it. I don't... If you could turn it off. If I could turn off that mechanic, it'd be beautiful. I'd love that in the menus. Make it so that I have to press action to mantle and things, because then I feel like I'm in control. How many people would ever do what I just did then? You would never do that. It's so bad. Oh, very sad. Sad moment for Chris. Light a candle, guys. But we're back at the box and we can take on Birkin. There's a part of me as well when I'm doing runs like this where I was praying that Birkin would fuck me up because I didn't want that in the footage. But because I want this to be as honest as I can make it, that happened, you know? It happens. You need to be aware that this kind of shit happens. And it happens to everybody. People watch my videos and they think, oh, this guy's just, you know, he gets perfect RNG, everything goes his way, he never makes mistakes, and it's not true. It's completely untrue, guys. All you see are the victories. You don't see the defeats, and the defeats are exhausting. The defeats are just grueling endurance runs of just getting punished sometimes. And maybe not so much in this game, because the fails in this game are quite mild in the grand scheme of things, but like in some games, like I spent 7 days fighting and encountering God Hand. 7 full days. And that's not 7 days where I played for 30 minutes. That's 7 days where I was doing like 10 plus hours. And you don't see it, you know? You don't see those moments. But do you know what's cool? Do you know when you come out the other side of those crucibles, when you have those challenging tests, those trials of Hercules, when you come out those labours of Hercules, sorry, at the other side of those labours, you are a different person. You have such a bedrock of experience and extra skill that you feel like you've hit into Ultra Instinct and you've mastered that bad boy. Like, you feel different. Everything looks different, you know? You become flippy-floppy CGI Neo, doing weird shit with poles and stuff against numerous Hugo weavings. Watch this, by the way, speaking of weavings. I'm trying to trigger the boss and I'm fucking up, and then I fuck this up too. See this bounce? After she says, oh shit, you want to throw the grenade at your feet. I didn't do it right. But luckily, over here is a safe spot. Kind of. So, the boss punches down twice. I shoot him a little bit with the machine gun, and then he comes to the door. So in the grand scheme of things, this wasn't too bad. But you want to throw the grenade at the line on the left seam of this door. If you do that, it'll explode, and it'll go straight to the doorway. I messed it up, though, because God... or whatever. L. Ron Hubbard. Hubbard. I'm insulting my messiah, how dare I. And then we get to do Birkin 2. So Birkin 2 with Claire is really, really sick. She's so good, dude. So you might be thinking, Chris, are you just going to flash him and then, like, you know, flash him and then shoot the grenade launcher? Not quite. Similar, though. So, when you shoot the grenade launcher, guys, at point-blank range, it will make Claire flinch. And when Claire flinches, she's invincible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait this guy to attack me, and I'm going to point-blank him, and then armor through his moves. Did you see that? He did 2 attacks, and I was invincible for all of it. Then he goes down, and I'm going to knife him a ton. And then when he starts getting up, I'm going to get separation, I'm going to bait his attack, and I'm going to get iframes by shooting him at point-blank range. For full honesty here, guys, I had a failed run here where he did a jump attack, and the hitbox on the jump attack is fucking bullshit. So I just managed to not be invincible, but you see that? Completely invincible, guys. Completely invincible. Nothing he can do. DSP, I was pressing buttons. And that's all we do. Watch, and then I dodged the jump attack because last time I got hit, which pissed me off. And then I'm just going to wait for him to go down, and I'm going to press the button, and I'm going to stab him a bunch. It takes around 16 to 17 seconds for this cargo crate to come once you press the button. You have plenty of time. So use this to make sure you've done enough damage, and then get out of the way. I got a little bit nervous because I didn't want to fuck up. And there you go. 1 cycle Birkin. On Claire, no less. I wish I'd got that first attempt, but I didn't. And it's good that you know that, because there are people, once again, that think I do everything first time, and I don't. But what I did do first time on the failed run is I did the grenade trick at the door, because the grenade didn't bounce weird, because I didn't throw it stupidly like I did just then. But once you're here, guys, once you've got to this point, you've done it. You will have your rank, you'll have your weapon. Because you've done all the tough stuff, you've done all the shit that's awkward. Everything left is still challenging if you are unfamiliar, but it's so much easier than what you've done. And then the bosses as Claire are a joke. Claire is a goddamn walking death machine, dude. She's Thanos with double gauntlets, dude. She's clicking fingers, planets are ending. Sherry doesn't even know that she is literally in the arms of death right now. It's crazy. She's a walking Grim Reaper. She makes Hunk look like a pussy. And it makes no sense. Maybe it does make sense. I didn't play Resident Evil 2 enough. Was Claire a super powerhouse in the first one? Because in this one, she's way stronger than Leon, dude. Leon really has to earn it, whereas Claire is just doesn't give a shit. So effective. It's really hard to argue. I'm also going to dump the kid here, and I'm going to go back and get the Magnum.
Okay.
So in the grand scheme of efficiency, this is another time waste. But this is important because having a Magnum for Birkin 3 makes certain factors of that fight a lot easier, so I definitely recommend you do this because it's free. And they even get rid of the zombie for you as well, which is kind of them. So if you want to pick up the blue herb. I don't talk about herbs in my runs because I don't take damage, but if you mix a blue herb into a concoction of other herbs, it will give you a defensive boost. Traditionally, and here's me fucking up the number because I'm stupid. Traditionally in Resident Evil, the blue herbs cured poison, and I think that they do cure poison in this game as well, but the defense boost that they give you is really, really cool. So if you want to do some tanking, that's what you do. But now we've got the sexy Magnum, we can push on, and there's going to be some real close calls coming up, guys. Some really, really, really crazy stuff. And usually, I think the lab is the easiest part of the game because it's super consistent, but there's one aspect of it that makes it really random and really annoying, and that is, of course, the vegans. The Ivy creatures. So the Ivies are an enemy that not only is their placement kind of randomized and kind of all over the place, but their movement can be really trolley too. Of all the enemies in this game, the Ivies are one of the ones, when you don't have a flamethrower, that will probably catch you off guard the most. Because to stun them, you have to shoot the bulbs that grow on their chests, but sometimes your accuracy can't be as good as you'd like because of the spread. And then there are other times where, even if you pop the bulbs when they're in animations, it doesn't do anything, so they come out of it and they grab you, and they have one of the longest grab ranges in the game. If you do not have a defensive item, they will kill you instantly. So you always want to carry a grenade or a knife for this section, just for safety. It is kind of crazy. But I'm going to make a mistake here, guys, that you need to learn from. So when I put her down, because my inventory's full, it will not give me the bangle because I can't carry it, and it puts it on the bed with her. And I need to go and use a box because I'm like so full of garbage right now. I've got so much bollocks I don't need. So I'm going to go for the box after I pick up the grenade rounds. If you don't pick up the grenade launcher or the shotgun, guys, depending on what campaign you're doing, it will be on that surface there where those grenade rounds were. The game gives you it because there's a ton of gunpowder in the coming section to make ammunition for it, and it doesn't want you to get stuck, potentially. I should have got rid of the T-bar here, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I hope I do. I don't want to be carrying a bloody T-bar around. There's no T-bars to be done here. But here's the mistake. Once I dump everything, I don't get the bangle. I go into the cafeteria, I trigger the spawn, and then I have to go back, grab the bangle, and when I go back into the cafeteria, everything is different. Everything is different, and it becomes an absolute vision of hell. I can't even tell you how I dodge the grabs that are going to whiff me coming up, because I didn't dodge them, guys. I just didn't see them. And once again, as happened in the house earlier, in the RPD, I'm going to jump. Because when I go into the cafeteria, you know the armoured guy that trolls you on the door when you go towards the sleeping quarters? He isn't there in this run. He is in the cafeteria, and he tries to grab me when I go through the door in like a one-frame grab, and it's terrifying. I jumped so hard, it was hilarious. But did you hear the noise just then of the zombies? By going up to that door without the bangle, I triggered the spawn. And this is so important. Don't do this. Do not do this, guys. This is such a bad thing that happens here. If it was not for my luck at this moment to kind of counteract a lot of the shit I've had, I would have had to do Birkin 2 again. There's no two words about it. And I wouldn't have been too bad when it comes to doing that, because I would have been able to not get grabbed by that G-Unit member, so it wouldn't have been that much of a defeat. But watch this. Who the fuck is that guy? You know what I mean? Like, where the fuck did he come from? There's the military man. Look at this bullshit. Look at that! Turns around mid-fire, does a double grab. I can't even begin to tell you the nerves at this point. I was like, oh my god. Oh my god! What have I done? I've done something bad. But, luckily, I managed to pull it back. And then once you're in here, you should be okay. Because if the military guy's over there, it means he can't be in here, can he? The question is, how the fuck did he get in there? Has he got a bangle on or something? Is he a magician? I don't understand. And I still looked for him, because I'm just flabbergasted by how that happened. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you go to the door prematurely, you will put yourself in a really bad place. And then in here, there is an upgrade for a weapon I don't have. And then there is another item on the side, which I'm probably going to have to leave because I'm so full of bollocks right now. And it's flame rounds, and flame rounds are really good. They don't do as much damage as the acid rounds do on impact, but they do more damage with the tick rate afterwards, I believe. It's an interesting choice as well, and I haven't talked about the rounds. Oh, there it was. Oh, it made me jump again. Jesus Christ, I had like a micro jump just then. You see that fucking garbage? Oh my god. How awful is that? I apologize if it made you jump. It fucking made me jump. And I played. Look at that bullshit, dude. How crazy was that? That's like the worst room I've ever had in any of the runs I've done. I've no idea how it got that bad, but it did. Do not do my mistakes. Jesus Christ. But the difference between the two grenades is effectively the flame grenades have got great damage over time, and they've got great AoE kind of thing going on for them. Whereas the acid rounds are stunning, are a really, really good stunning attack. So if you fire an acid round at Birkin 3, he completely stops and flinches from it. Whereas if you fire a grenade that's flame, he will not. And that's kind of the distinction. A lot of people think the acid rounds are kind of shitty because they want to make the flame rounds and they feel like the flame rounds are better. But in the grand scheme of things, if you use them correctly, the acid rounds are very effective at what they're designed to do. They're designed to be like a single big hit that causes a lot of stun. And if you use them for that, you can make some bosses look silly. You're not going to see me do it against Birkin 3, but you can stun him with an acid round, swap to a different gun, shoot him with a different gun, swap back to the acid round, load it, stun him again, and you can keep him perma-stunned. It's really, really effective. Like, you can just keep hitting him with acid rounds if you've got tons of them. But you have to be careful, though, because it's like grenades. You know how when you grenade the final tyrant, when he's in an animation, it doesn't stun him and he comes out of it and he recovers? You have to hit them with the item when they're in a neutral state. So if Birkin 3 is not in a neutral state and you shoot him with an acid round, it's not going to reset the stun. You can't just stack stun upon stun upon stun. The game doesn't let you. It gives them a grace period where they cannot be re-stunned while in a stunned animation. And it's fair, and it should work that way, but it's one of those things that can screw you up if you don't know it works that way. And once again, I find myself completely encased in bullshit because I'm carrying so many guns. And this is where the inventory become a little brutal, but it's completely manageable, guys. Especially if you managed your pistol a bit better than I did. If you've got some pistol rounds coming into this, just use that. It takes up less space. And then we have the B-sides buttons, which is Tetris piece, double piece. Oh no, Tetris piece, thin piece, weird L piece reversed, and then double piece. Boom. Easy peasy. And then we get strange piece, doubly piece, like tits and dicks piece, and a weird double finger thing. These are all technical terms for these symbols, of course. And now that you've done that, you don't have to mess around in this room, outside of sticking the frozen ampoule into the thing. And here's my game dying and scaring me. That actually happened, guys. And usually I remove those parts. But do you know the problem when that's happening? Is, as you can tell, the music's still playing, so the game's still playing. So you know if there was an Ivy that was active then, he gets a free head start to grab my ass. And I don't know about other Claire players, but I don't want these perverts touching my anus. So it can get really scary. But luckily, it was just one of those moments. And if you're wondering what it is, it's my CPU spiking off a loading zone. Because we're entering a new area, it's populating the new area, it's sending way too much traffic to my machine apparently, and my machine is stuttering and having problems. It sometimes doesn't happen though. It's one of those things where sometimes those stutters will be a micro stutter, other times it will be a sustained stutter like that one, and I don't really have much control over it because it's a spike in processing power, effectively. And it stems from the fact that I'm using quite an old CPU. But I'm not going to complain about it, guys, because it's done such good work for me with this game. Like, I'm so surprised that I can play it the way I can play it. It's fantastic. I'm very indebted to it. And admittedly, it's my GTX 1070 that's doing the heavy lifting, because it's a good card. It's a really, really nice card. And my CPU's kind of just getting dragged by the 1070. But I wouldn't change it for the world at the moment. I am looking forward to upgrading my motherboard though and getting an i7, getting like a nice newer i7, which people have been recommending me the 8700K, which I think looks like a really, really nice thing. However, it's going to cost me like 500 quid between the motherboard and the CPU, and that's quite a lot of money to drop when I don't actually have to. But it is a good idea because it makes rendering quicker, it makes my streams better, it makes my videos better, it's going to help everything in the long run. So it's definitely worth it. But food for thought, you know. So this is the same as with Leon, but you don't have a shotgun. These 3 zombies are all going to stand up, and you don't want that to happen. But the big decider here that's kind of different is that you have the Game Boy Color, so you can immediately do the puzzle, and you don't have to worry about the lickers. The lickers in this segment are actually pretty interesting because I've seen people not aggro them, which I find to be quite interesting, as I've said. When I did this, the lickers always aggro for me because I was treating it like Leon's scenario, but I believe in this one, because you have the power immediately, if you walk towards the vent where they fall out of, I think they don't know where you are, whereas with Leon, they seem to always know where you are. So when I play this segment, I just run past them, I don't even look at them, I just ignore them, as you'll witness right now. Just skip them completely. But I saw another player not aggro them, and they just walked out of the area and into the middle of the room. It was really interesting. And that was 3 interestings in one sentence, which means you should be interested too. But come into here, dump off the ample, skip the cutscene as the crane does a little bit of the old robotic coitus, and then behind us there's going to be another item to touch. And I don't know what it is, it's probably gunpowder though. At this moment she's got gunpowder falling out her ass. Yeah, there it is. A nice snuff tin of shotgun juices. And then I'm not going to touch any of the zombies here because, as I mentioned in my last run, they don't seem to come alive. I reckon that zombie comes alive if you read that computer. It must do. There must be a reason. And then now we're going to move back towards the server room, and I'm going to drop another save, guys. So you've made it to my second save point. Something to know as well, if you reset from this save point, the lickers will almost undoubtedly be in different positions because they have about 2 different set spawns here that they like to favour. They can, however, if you get their attention, they can move, and when they move, they can be in places you don't expect. But you might be thinking, Chris, why did you save here when you said last time you weren't going to do it and you regretted it because you ended up having a bad time with Birkin? The reason I saved here again is because Claire faces additional Ivies because she doesn't face Mr. X, and I really, really, really didn't want to lose a run to getting grabbed by Ivies. So that's why I saved. Additionally, I felt really confident that I was going to shit on Birkin, and I did. So it ended up being pretty cool, actually. But it didn't happen first time. So here's how this worked, guys. You know how I've just gave you the insight into me worrying about Ivies? Well, I went up out of the server room into the main area, and there was 4 Ivies. 4 Ivies on the pathway. It was the worst possible spawn you can get. So I ended up resetting. I didn't die, and I didn't get grabbed, but I just felt like the game was being a cunt. So I reset. And then the second attempt, which is what you're watching, well, technically you're not watching it yet because I haven't saved, but the second attempt was perfect. There was only, I think, 1 Ivy to contend with. See that? That's what happens when Chris forgets what he's doing. And then he runs off. How sick was that? And weirdly enough, it doesn't know I'm here now after it's done its little attack. It ran off. But this is the reset anyhow. And then when I get to Birkin, I do him first time, which is really vindicating because Birkin bullied me when I was Leon. And it's not because I'm not good at the fight, and it's not because I don't know what I'm doing, it's just because the game is a cunt. There's no 2 words about it, guys. Even people that are the best players of this game get screwed by bosses because that's just what the game does. I also was reading, it's like an info dump of information about the game, about stats and things. And it turns out if you attack Birkin 3's chest, when it opens, it will close quicker. So you will only get 5 seconds to attack him if you attack his chest, but if you attack elsewhere, you get 10 seconds. And I didn't know this. I knew that there were times where you got fast knockdowns and slow knockdowns, and I didn't know what dictated it. But now, if we watch together, I'll see the mistake that I made that I didn't know. And learn from my mistakes, folks. If you go immediately to knifing him from behind, you will not trigger the quicker rise from him. And that's how you do the most damage. Oh, there we go. There goes the grabless run. See, that's the type of stuff that I was afraid of. I don't think that spawn in that room is fair. I think that that's something I would delete. There's no planet where that fucking cunt should be there. All he does is ruin runs. But technically, outside of the Birkin fight and outside of the G guy, so 2 grabs is still terrible, and it shouldn't have happened. But this could have easily been a grabless run, and it wasn't, and I'm disappointed in that. I'm going to do it, though. I'm going to do a grabless run. It'll happen someday. But just an idea for people. Obviously, the Ivy that's in that room does that almost every time, because he's designed to be in there, but where he is depends on how lucky you are. Sometimes he can be quite in front of you, and you just stun him and run past him. That time I didn't even see him, and he just grabbed me from behind. Just a show of hands, guys, for the people that have made it this far, that care enough. Do you think that that's a fair guy, that one? Because I think he's been put there just to be a nightmare. He's been put there to be an annoying hurdle that shouldn't exist. And I think it's really graceless. Compared to Mr. X, Mr. X exists for Leon in that segment to apply pressure to the player and make it nerve-wracking, and I think that that's really well done. Adding 1 extra Ivy in a sneaky corner, that's garbage to me. I will never understand that design, personally. I just think it's lazy. Like, I would have preferred a Licker to bust through the roof or something. I would have preferred anything than sticking one of those dickheads in a corner. Just evil. Super evil. But now we're in the lab, and I'm very comfortable with this part of the game. So I'm really confident at this point. I've got a lot of Spriggan in my step. That's like a Sprite only different, right? Did anybody see that anime Spriggan? That was an interesting one. They were like super warriors they found an ark and they were fighting shit. It was confusing, but it was cool. And I go and examine this computer because I'm dumb. You have to touch the wall over here and it triggers a plot device that gives you the G virus. This goes to show my inexperience with B scenario. I just don't really know it that well. And then there's the big gunpowder that was there for Leon as well, which is kind of them. And now you can start combining some stuff and making some acid rounds if you want to. Get rid of the Game Boy Color. Get rid of anything you're not going to use. Between the Magnum and the SMG, you should have this easy, because those 2 weapons are really strong at popping the eyeballs. And the first set of eyeballs have an interesting HP threshold. I think the first one has something like 200, the second one has 300, and then the final one has 500. And then after that, when you get the second set of eyeballs, that HP threshold doubles. But the thing that you need to bear in mind, guys, is that the HP numbers are not going to be the most useful thing to have outside of an active update if you use the speedrunners tool. Because depending on what your rank is, and right now we can't see what my rank is, but my rank could be anywhere between 9 and 12. Depending on your rank will depend on how weak your guns are, so you won't do the same kind of damage. But it's still good to know. And you might be thinking, well, Chris, what damage do the guns do? And each of the guns does vastly different numbers, but if you look for Resident Evil 2 Remake damage values, there is tons of different pieces of information that have been empirically kind of tested using certain tools, and it's pretty much as close to the right information as we can have. But as I say with all information, take it with a pinch of salt, guys. Always take it with a pinch of salt. But now that we're all set up, let's do this, shall we? Birkin 3, my favourite boss in the game. A boss that is notorious for being a dickhead and trolley, but additionally, a really well-designed boss that only has, I think, 3 moves that I think should be deleted, or at least redesigned. And I don't know if you'll see them, so walk forward, hit the blister, or hit the eyeball, sorry. It's better to hit the left eye after the leg, and then hit the back, but it's also a bit more dangerous. So, watch right now, see this? That was my mistake, right there. Do not hit his heart. Watch how quick he's going to stand up, guys. See that? That is not what you want. That is a big mistake. Never, ever attack his heart. You will lose damage. And now we've got second phase. So he's jumping, run past it, shoot his back. Back one went down really quickly. Magnum is really, really good at this. Super good at this. Shoot the leg again. Here he goes, 4-hit combo. Really nice pattern right now. Wait for the 3rd hit, then run towards him. You can space it if you want to not have to adjust to shoot his eyeballs. Then I swap to the grenade launcher, and the grenade launcher is really bad at this, guys. This is not where the grenade launcher shines. Running attack, this is a 2-hitter sometimes, but he got stunned by the flame. Did you see that? He's going to pick the thing up. He picks the thing up. So, as long as you're not in a corner, guys, he will not dunk this immediately down at his feet. If you're in the open like this, he'll throw it, and if you stand next to him, he will not hit you. It's very safe. Jumping attack again. Run past it. Do I have the machine gun? Chris, put the machine gun on. The machine gun would have been way better here. The fucking grenade launcher's poopy. And I'm gonna fuck up again. There it was. Fucked up twice. Damn, this is a bad fight. But this one, he doesn't get up as quick. Interesting. And I just broke my knife. Because I'm trying to equip the other knife without this animation. Oh, he does get up quick. Yeah, there you go. Both of my stun states were bad. They were not optimized because I attacked his heart. And now he's transforming into the final phase. In the final phase, I think he has 4,000 HP now, which means if you hit him with 4 grenades, he will die. But I don't have 4 grenades, so I'm not going to do that. And he takes damage in all of these animations. There's the second grenade. And now I'm going to change to my Granada and run past him now to get away from his second slash. And then we're going to put the acid rounds on to stun him. And I'll show you the stun. Watch this. See that? Look at that. Look how powerful these are. Guaranteed stun. He didn't stun then because he was still in the recovery of his last stun. But this will stun him every time, guys. Every single time this weapon will stun him. That's how good it is. It's so good at stunning bosses. And then we killed him. And there was Birkin. So what do you take away from that? Never ever attack his open chest. Always attack his other body parts to get an extra 5 seconds worth of damage, which is an eternity if you know what you're doing. And we got a good pattern then. He didn't do any bad moves. He gave us that fight pretty much. That was the complete antithesis to what my previous Leon fight was like, because in those failed attempts, I was getting all the shit ones. And if you're wondering what the shit ones are, whenever he does that thrust with his arm that's kind of short range but has a massive hitbox, it's like he fired an invisible Zeppelin at you. Whenever he does that running slash, when he does that cheeky scuttle, that's a really bad one as well. And then there's another really fast claw attack he has that he almost never uses. Those 3 moves are the ones that will hit you because they have the least honest hitboxes and they're usually the fastest, except for the thrust. The thrust is slow, but the thrust can hit you when you're behind him because it's bullshit. And I dodged it on my stream the other day. He started the animation and he thrusts his left arm. I ran towards the gap in his right arm underneath his armpit. I was behind him and he hit me when nothing was near me. It was the ultimate dog shit. And I got really angry, as you can imagine. Because it should have been the perfect dodge. It should have looked amazing. It should have been technology that I can give to you people. And you can dodge that move every time by doing a super sexy dodge. And it didn't work. And it didn't work because for some reason he has like 50 meters up his ass that has a spike on it. And he just tickled me with it. But now we've done him, we can get on to something you haven't seen on my channel yet, which is the exclusive fights for Claire, known as G4 and G5, which it's just different forms of Birkin. I think they call it G instead of Birkin because they think maybe Birkin's a spoiler. But when I refer to the bosses, I generally say Birkin 1, 2, 3, 4 and everything. Maybe they do it because it's quicker. A lot of people like super quick things, don't they? Like when you watch Kingdom Hearts speedrunners and they're always like, when I was first playing KH, I really understood that KH was going to be like KH2, but then KHFM came out, and then KH1 was like KH2, but then Chain of Memories, and then, like, what? I'm like, stop saying KH, dude, it's getting confusing. But whenever you say something a lot, and you're part of those kind of communities that say things a lot, they love to use acronyms, don't they? They love to abbreviate things and make things smaller, and I talk a lot, as you've just noticed. We're an hour and 30 minutes into Chris talking to himself like a lunatic. And I do this because it's the style of my channel, but it's difficult, you know, it's awkward. But even then, when I speak for this amount of time, just to annoy that one guy in the comments that's like, ooh, why do you talk so much? Even then, I still take the time to say full things. Sometimes I abbreviate. You know, I say iframes quite a lot instead of invincibility frames or invulnerability frames. You know, I do shorten some things, but traditionally I'll say COD because COD's pretty quick, but I'll also say Call of Duty. Sometimes I mix it up, you know. I think with an F because I'm from London. I think that variety is the spice of life. So saying things repeatedly the same way to me can sometimes get really annoying. So I like to at least mix it up a little bit. You know, become a little bit more colourful with the old language. Or at least I like to think I am. I suppose you guys can be the judge on that. But now that we've got Sherry, we can proceed to leave her behind and jump on this elevator and then get to Leon and have nice, hot, steamy sex on a train. Which doesn't happen, unfortunately, but you can kind of tell that she wanted it to. because Claire seems to be pretty eager to every dude she meets in every game. I feel like Japan is ruining Claire's integrity. Which we were talking about on my stream the other night. Like, every dude in every Resident Evil, Claire's just like, oh, hi. Hi there. She's a man-eater, dude. She's an absolute man-eater. She's not a very good man-eater, but I think she aspires to be. And then we get to stare at some jaggy-looking environments right now because of my AA. I do like this moment, though, this reflective moment of calm, where the music kicks in and the core is, like, going nuclear.
Yeah? Thank you for being so nice to me.
It is a pretty thought-provoking moment.
I'm really glad I met
And when you get here, you're so confident because you know you've got a free save. Here's me trying to shoot Sherry, because I'm not a nice person. You can't do it, though. I still try. What can I say? She's like, I'm so glad I know you. I'm gonna kill you. You know, you gotta stick it to the man sometimes. And then over here, if you don't have it, there's a heal, and there's also a knife. The knife is pretty useful here if you don't have it, because you can knife the tyrant, and it does really good damage. I think I'm going to show you knifing the tyrant on maybe one of my later runs, because it's a strategy I haven't showcased yet. I can't knife the tyrant on this run, because of course there is no tyrant. But you can knife G4. Knifing him's really powerful too, but you only ever want to knife him after he's fallen off the wall. When he falls off the wall, and when he falls off the top if you shoot him, knifing him then can be a really good opportunity. Additionally, when he's in recovery frames, you can knife him once or twice and then run away without being hit, but you have to know what you're doing, and because it's kind of very reliant on you understanding his animations, I'm not going to do too much of it in this run. I want to show you kind of a safe way of taking him on, and this is probably the safest way I've managed to find while still being quite aggressive. And you might wonder, how does this boss fight work? Because it is actually pretty interesting. So, if you shoot the minigun at him at all times, you're not going to do good damage. It only hurts him, seemingly, to the right extent when you pop his eyeballs. So what I would recommend, folks, is pop the eyeballs. When they're all gone, stop attacking. Save the bullets. Then when they come back, pop them again. Apparently, if you pop the eyeballs 6 times in a row, all of them, you'll end the fight. This boss's HP threshold is 4 million HP. He has a ludicrous amount of HP. It's preposterous. On this particular run, I'm going to shoot him with the machine gun as well, because I wanted to use it on the final phase to see how strong it was. It turns out, it's not that strong. You might want to use your grenades on the final phase, or just continue to use your minigun, because as it stands, minigun is by far the best strategy. Minigun, knife, and grenades are the tools you want to use. But you might be wondering what I'm doing here. The safest way to do this segment, guys, is to climb this ladder so you don't have to dodge the ivies. And then when it gets to 36 on the clock, 8 minutes 36, Sherry's going to open the door. It might be 46, actually, sorry, 46. You'll notice if I start climbing at 50, yeah, I'm gonna. So at 46, she opens the door. And then all you'll have to do is shoot the bulb on one of the ivies and run past him. And he will always be on the 2nd avenue just here. There he is. And then you don't have to even play with them. And that's very consistent, that, guys, because I was practicing this boss a little bit to see if I could find some good cheese. And I managed to find some interesting stuff, but I don't think any of it is essential to know, so I ended up not sharing it. But maybe later on when I do different runs, we'll see what I can do with that. But keep on running. And I can talk about the shenanigans now then. So basically, guys, my timer right now is 1 hour 40 minutes. If you go over 2 hours, you will not get the S+. You will fail. I beat this boss pretty quickly, and I had 2 hours and 26 minutes on my timer, and it gave me an A rank, and I have no idea why it did it. My first theory was that I continued, and continued added time, and also avoided the S+, but I looked at the footage, and I never pressed continue, I pressed load. So for some reason, the game just kind of brain farted, and it punished me. So I had to re-record the entire end of this game again, and it wasn't fun. I was really annoyed. For some reason, I got penalised for 20 minutes, like 25 minutes it added out of nowhere, and I can't explain why. But at the beginning, guys, back up, wait for the eyeballs to spawn, and then shoot his eyeballs. He's then going to squat down, pop the one eyeball you can see, and then start strafing to the left in a diagonal manner. When he lands, you can run and knife him, and if you knife him, you'll stun him, and it's really powerful, but I'm not going to do that. Whenever he puts both his arms into the ground, he's going to run at you in a straight line. If you're on a big flank like this, you can run to the side of it. However, if you're at a corner, go around the opposite corner to him, and if he has enough distance, he'll just end before he gets to the corner. However, if he starts where I am now, and he does that move, you have to be all the way around the other side, because he can curve it all the way around the tram. And if he does that, he'll hit you. There's the first of his jump. Shoot him in the eyeballs when they come back. And whenever he climbs on the wall, see, here's the move, watch the dodge. See that? How close was that, right? Sexy. But it works. And it works because he moves in a straight line. And as long as you have enough room to squeeze past him, you'll be fine. So that is his big combo. He's going to do at least 5 or 6 hits, and he has massive forward momentum. After this, he likes to climb the wall. When he's climbing the wall, if you throw a grenade at him, it will knock him off the wall onto his back, and then you can attack him for free. And if you're close enough, you can attack him with the knife and do massive damage. See that? At the end of that move, climb the wall, another opportunity to throw a grenade. If you've saved more grenades, this jump will come directly for you, not the roof, so make sure you dodge that. And then just shoot his little taint, and then continue popping his eyeballs. And what will happen is, once you've popped enough eyeballs, he gets all black and steamy, and then once he's done that, he's going to turn into Lawrence from Bloodborne and start crawling on the ground. And then at that point, you just have to put as much damage into him as you can. And I've tested running up to him and knifing him, but unless you get the full animation, where he takes ages to transform, like right now, see this? This is his transformation. This is where I'm going to change my weapon. So right now, he's transforming, and he's going to lose his legs. And then you just have to shoot the eyes. But as you'll witness from the gameplay, this gun is just... it's okay, I guess, but it's not doing the damage it should be doing. I thought it'd already be over by now. And I'm just going to put the minigun back on, and then finish him with that. Minigun does way more damage, guys. So if you're looking for super damage, use the minigun. And then we have this. There is a knife on the left here, guys, and there's a really good reason there's a knife on the left. You do not have to shoot a single bullet at this boss. When I first got here, I had 1 grenade, I had 11 pistol bullets, and I had a knife, and I managed to beat it on hardcore. Extrapolating from that strategy, I then figured out, via some external measures when I saw other people do different things, that there's only a certain point in this fight where you have to attack this boss. So if you wait until right near the end, the eyeball is going to fully expose itself and fully, like... you know when the eye goes all slitty like a lizard? It's going to do that, and it's going to push forward. At that moment, if you stab it with the knife a few times, you'll win. Depending on your frame rate will depend on how quick this is. I've seen people do it with 2 knives. It generally takes me more than 2 knives. On console, you can still do this, because it only takes a few hits. It's just a gimmick. But see how he poked his eye out? And after this animation now, after the roar, the eye is going to push forward, and it's going to get really small. So you see? There you go. There's your signal. Now slash it. Hit it as much as you can, and you've won. And that's the end of the fight. You might even be able to delay a little bit and then go in and maybe do less knives, but any time after that and you're fine. And there it is, guys. S+ rank, 3 saves, 1 hour, 41:32, hardcore, Claire second run. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps. It was a lot of fun to make, but it's also very stressful, so I can understand people who are having a tough time. Just stick with it, you'll get it eventually, and as always, you take care now.